necessary harm. Something called oxalic acid, which is found predominantly in rhubarb. Don't know if you recognise that plant. It's not, you can see the stems just growing in between, but it's not yet fully grown. Now, who likes rhubarb? I like rhubarb, love rhubarb crumble. Now, you're fine eating those stems, but the leaves of rhubarb are very poisonous. They're full of this thing called oxalic acid. And if you eat them, they'll make you very, very sick and they can kill you. What they do is they cause nosebleeds, they cause you to hemorrhage inside, you'll be vomiting. Ultimately you would collapse, you'd be very, very ill and you would need to get to a hospital. So the bottom line with any plant is you never eat a plant until you know it's safe. Don't assume just because it's in the garden that it's safe, it doesn't mean that it is. We've got another plant here that some of your parents may grow. It's called Christmas rose. Some of you may see it on Christmas cards. It's that nice white flower that appears on Christmas cards. A hellebore. Now the roots of these plants are very poisonous indeed. And in the past, you know, in older times when we weren't quite as hygienic, we used to get worms that would live inside us, just live in your intestine, in your stomach, places like that. Horrible, wriggly worms, never very good. And your parents would worm you using the root of this plant. They would take some of the root and crush it, put it in water and make you drink the liquid down. It was bitter, it was disgusting, you'd hate it. And the effect's unpleasant as well. Let's just say it cleans you out. Both ends, not nice. But it gets rid of the worms, so it's a good thing. But if your parents use too much of it, they kill you as well. It's a very toxic plant, very unpleasant. Now, you may not recognise them since the flowers have gone, but you all know what daffodils look like. Yeah. All spring bulbs are very poisonous. Never eat the bulbs. And you'd think, why would you? But sometimes people mix them up with onions. If you've ever seen a daffodil bulb, it does look a bit like an onion. And so if you've got them in your garden shed and you don't keep them separate, if you grab a handful of daffodil bulbs and take them home and start chopping them into your meal that night, you run the risk of killing the entire family. It's really not very nice. Now, they have a strong taste, but if you put them in a curry, strongly flavoured, you probably wouldn't pick up on it. One lady on a tour told me that they'd done it by mistake. She'd made mince and onions that night. Within the first few forkfuls, they were eating it and they just thought, don't know what's wrong with this, it tastes horrible. Luckily, they threw the meal away. But they'd still had a few forkfuls and they were all violently sick as a consequence. So daffodil bulbs, all spring bulbs, tulips, you know, snowdrops, anything with a bulb like that, never eat the bulb. Now, have you been told about laburnum trees? Beautiful tree, here it is, this lovely yellow blossom. Very, very poisonous tree. This forms lovely, shiny black seeds when these flowers have gone, and that attracts us. We tend to like them. Generally, you're warned as children not to eat the seeds of the laburnum. In fact, the whole tree is poisonous. There is no part of this tree that you could safely put in your mouth. It causes convulsions, fits, and it can kill you quite quickly. So again, it's just repeating, you know, don't eat things until you know what they are. And I'll take you to some opium poppies. They're not yet in flower, sadly, we're a bit early. But you can see just there, you see the shadow where I'm pointing there, that's a lovely flower head falling. Opium poppies are bigger than our little native poppies. They have big blooms that are lilac and crimson, very, very, very pretty. And we grow these for our medicines, because from the opium poppy, as it suggests, we get opium, we get morphine, we get codeine, valuable painkillers, if we use them wisely. Sadly, what we also get from the poppy is heroin. Horrible drug, ruins your life. You get addicted to it very, very quickly. And you just go downhill. Very, very hard to get off once you're addicted to it. And the effects of it are horrible. You know, I mean, I don't know if you've seen people on television, you know, really ill, thin, horrible, horrible things, very, very addictive. You can grow these poppies in this country. It's not illegal. In some countries it is. But, you know, you just need to know what you've got. They call it the sleeping poppy because it does bring sleep unto death. That's the problem with it. Great if you use it in teeny amounts to help you with pain and things, but use it any more than that and you've got a breathing problem. Now this plant is one that some people grow in this country. It's called the oleander. It's not in flower yet and it will never flower here. We're too far north. I've been told this is a white one, but I've never seen it because this needs sunnier climes. If you go on holiday somewhere like Spain, you'll probably see this plant growing down the road. Animals know how poisonous it is. They will keep away from it because it's poisonous. And all parts of it are poisonous. Again, you wouldn't want to mess with any part of that plant, but this one can kill you in a sneaky way. Never burn the wood. If you breathe in the smoke from the wood of the oleander, it will kill you. You probably don't even know you're breathing it in. You don't have to be over it, you know, breathing in lungfuls of it. It can just drift towards you on the wings. Very, very toxic, the oleander plant. And this one is probably the most poisonous plant in the garden. We get castor oil from this plant. Very simple process. When it grows, it has these lovely seeds which we crush. We take the oil from. We use castor oil in all kinds of ways. But from the residue that's left, it's a very simple process to make something called ricin, which is a horrible poison. It has no remedy. Once you're poisoned with it, there's nothing anyone can do. You will die, and you will die horribly. The problem with ricin is that it causes all your internal organs to just hemorrhage, just to bleed, and you die a very slow and painful death. It's pretty gruesome. It needs to be injected into you. There was a murder way, way back before your time in 1978. A Bulgarian spy was murdered when he was walking across a bridge in London. We called it the umbrella murder because the person who did it had got an ordinary umbrella, got a little capsule containing ricin on the end of it, and as he walked past him, he just jabbed him like that, put it in his leg. The guy probably didn't even realise, thought, oh, sorry, you know, like you do, someone brushed against you. But in a day, he knew very, very soon. Horrible death. Took him about 4 days to die. Very unpleasant. Now, there's a tree over here. That's one of our local poisonous trees. You know what a yew tree looks like? So this is just a baby. This is 10-year-old, this tree. They grow for a very long time. There's one in Scotland, a yew tree that's 5,000 years old. So this tree is going to live a lot longer than you and me. A very, very poisonous tree. Our ancestors worshipped it. They thought it was such a powerful tree. And it's got all sorts of stories connected with it. Now, because our ancestors had these trees in their sacred sites, when we became Christian in this country, we built our churches on the sites that our pagan ancestors had their special sites. So you often find that yew trees are in churchyards. Now there's two reasons for that. First of all, because the tree was there already before we put the church there, because they live so long. But also we planted them there because most animals, again, animals are pretty clever. They're more clever than we are. They can tell when something's poisonous and they'll stay away from it. So if you've got graves in your churchyard, you don't want herds of cattle walking all over them, you know, making a mess. So they'll stay away from the yew tree. But all parts of it are poisonous. You never ever want to eat any part of this tree. Very unpleasant. It kills very, very quickly. One lady told me her horse, unfortunately, for some reason, she doesn't know why, she was riding it. She was riding down the country lane and the horse just suddenly grabbed at the yew tree with its mouth. I don't know why. Chewed it. Dropped underneath it. That's how quick it was. But a good thing to have them in churchyards is that they've got very fibrous roots, very much like your hair, grow through the ground, and they grow through the bodies of the dead, through their eyes. Stops them finding their way back to the land of the living. Always a good thing. So that's the yew tree. You get a drug from this tree, which is very useful. It's helped to cure breast cancer, tamoxifen. So some of these plants, you may notice, they're not all bad. It's what we do with them as people. It can kill you or it can help you. It's how you use the chemicals in them. That's the interesting thing. Now foxgloves. You all know what foxgloves look like? Lovely plants. Not yet in flower again, but early. These are foxgloves. You'll see gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. Now, let's go back about 100 years and your parents would have told you not to touch this plant. Again, the story is associated with it. You were told that fairies lived in this plant. They live in the flowers. So if you push the plant around, they get cross, you know, you shake it around. If you pull the plant up, then you make a fairy. but it stops you from having a plant which can be harmful. Because the foxglove has a chemical inside it which can damage your heart. It's a heart poison. If we use it properly, if a doctor uses that same chemical to help save lives, a drug called digoxin helps regulate heartbeat. So it's this double side all the time. But they're lovely plants. But a lady tried to murder her husband with one of these. She made him a nice pasta dish and gave him a side salad to eat with it. And into the side salad she chopped up blocks of foxglove seeds. Well, he ate it and he was very ill. They saved his life in hospital, so she didn't manage to kill him. He got 8 years in jail for crime. But you'd never imagine it. Very strange.
So is it the? Did you say it's the flower, or did you say it's the leaves of the foxglove that are the?
Primarily in the leaves.
Right. Okay.
But I wouldn't recommend that anyone handles it a lot. You know, if you've been gardening, if you're using them a lot, you best to wash them back. Or you won't wear gardening. And then there's a plant beside it, this big spiky one. Don't you see it there? Growing in the middle. Now again, it's just started to grow. This is something called giant hogweed. Great name. And it seems really giant. It grows close. And it's like this wall behind it. And you don't want to get anywhere near it. If you push up against those leaves, they inject your skin with a poison. But the sunlight causes great blisters. Really horrible. It's like very, very natural. And there's a story of a little child, you know, about 3-year-old, who fell into one and fell on. He ended up in hospital. Big blisters all over his body. Really horrible. I find that plant commonly along riversides in light, damp places, but it's everywhere. We can't get rid of it. It's got very deep roots, so even if you think you've done it up, it just and it makes something like 15,000 seeds in 1 year. Those seeds live for 7 years. So from one plant, you can see why we can't get rid of it. There are universities all over the world trying to work out how to get rid of it.
Has that one got any positives to it?
No.
No?
No, I'm sorry,
Right.
that one is just thoroughly bad. Not a positive to it at all. Now, let me take you to a plant over there I want to tell you about, because I think it's a really good plant. And it was involved in a murder very recently. Right. It's the one with the stake, so let me just get near so I can point it out to you. Thank you very much. Right, this is a lovely plant. Coming out in flowers, there will soon be lovely blue flowers. And they come up in layers. I don't know if you know what a delphinium looks like, but this looks very much like it. It's not a delphinium. A delphinium is also poisonous, by the way, don't eat it. This is called aconite, or commonly monk's hood, because those blue flowers have the shape of like a monk's hood, if you can imagine that. Now, an Indian lady in London in February 2010, her boyfriend went off with someone else and she was mad. Probably both mad and angry at the same time, a crazy woman. She decided to have a revenge, so she had the key to his flat still. She broke in. She had some of the root of this plant with her because she knew how poisonous it was. She chopped that root up, and when she opened his fridge, she saw that he'd made a curry to eat that night. So she just stirred the root into it, closed the door, left the flat. When he came back that night with his new girlfriend, they ate the curry. Soon they knew there was a problem, because it causes you struggle to breathe, you burn on the inside, you get the most awful stomach pains that I've been told you can die just from them alone, which I can't really understand, but it must be horrible. But it slows your heartbeat down, so it just goes, stops. It kills you with heart failure very quickly. They did get them to hospital, but they couldn't save him. It was too late. You know, time is really important here. So the lady who did it, Latvia Singh's now in prison for murdering this man. All from the plant you can buy virtually any garden centre in this country. You can buy that anywhere you want, and it's really, really dangerous. It's crazy, isn't it? Lovely plant, and again, they used to use it in a medicine to help people who had, you know, fast heart rate to slow it down, but you need to know what you're doing. Very, very dangerous plant. What I love about this plant is a story that in times past, before we had the knowledge we do now we understand poisons. You know, science is very good, we've learned so much. But going back, they needed to find out which poison had been used in a murder. You know, if you wanted to take someone to court and prosecute them to murder, you had to know what the poison was. You can always tell when someone's been killed by poison. The signs are pretty horrible, you know, there's vomit, it's pretty unpleasant because the body knows it's been poisoned and tries to get rid of it every which way, so it's horrible. You'll foam at the mouth, you'll be vomiting, stuff coming out your nose, it's gruesome. So they know when someone's been killed by poison. Before they had the science we do today, the only way they could find out what the poison was to taste the vomit. Well, they spit it out, they'll just taste a little bit of it. Because each one has quite a distinctive taste. If I said almonds to you, I don't know if you know, but cyanide, taste and smells of almonds, it's quite distinctive. And most of the commonly used poisons do have a distinctive smell or taste with them. Speaking of almonds, this shrub here, it's a very common shrub in parks and gardens everywhere. It's laurel. If you take a leaf of the laurel and crush it up and then smell it, you will smell almonds because the cyanide in those leaves. Now normally it's not a problem. You know, we don't take leaves when we don't sort of go around studying leaves with people. Laurel. Oh really? Intelligent name. Oh yes, you're almost named after the poisonous plant. If you cut that down, you've then got a lot of cuttings to get rid of. If you choose to burn them, don't stay around, get out of the way. Get away from it because it releases the cyanide as it burns. People have been trying to collapse by bonfires where they're burning. Really? Oh wow, it's trying to get rid of it. Yeah, if you're hanging over it, you know, trying to get it burning, if you breathe it in, it's like carbon dioxide. You take the oxygen.
Is that always been there?
Yeah. The problem is we've lost touch with the knowledge. Yeah. We've become more cynical, we've forgotten all the problems we've tried to proposal. And if you go straight even in the park, you can check it with that on the day, like sometimes on window. Because, you know, once you cut the leaves, the surface is going to start releasing the cyanide. Now this is a member of a family that we call the prunus family. Apple is also a member of it. Is there anyone here that likes to eat all of it? To the seeds. Some people do because they like the almond taste of the seeds. That's what people taste of. Now, obviously in an apple you've got lots of seeds that they don't die. But if you had about 50 seeds, yeah, people go on crazy diets like someone went carrots. He actually turned orange, and his liver, you couldn't cope because there was air potential in carrots and it puts you in small amounts. Basically, anything to be a poison to get your poison balance. You know, if you don't crave it, you don't eat carrots. You won't have a very long life because your liver is so yeah, bear in mind what happens to you. Someone could tell me that a bird was thinking about someone who made an accident. Gave it to his booty. And they ate it and died of poison at the time. You've got a good menu now. Encourage them to start, and then give them a nice apple orange slice.
I've got a bacon steak. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you all want to know in the big cage. Great bag. Oh.
What is it?
Cannabis. Yeah, cannabis, marijuana. Got all kinds of nicknames. Quite a pretty plant. So here it is. It's a big plant. Grown well this year. Lovely leaf. It is an attractive plant. Now, cannabis as it is there used to be used very widely as like a herbal medicine. In places like the West Indies, where this does grow as a weed, which is one of its common names you may have heard, they would make, if they had a headache or a stomachache, they would make some tea from a leaf and drink it down, and in that sort of treatment, it would help, you know, cure the pains that you had. If you use it too much in other ways, it's going to cause you big problems. We tend not to think that cannabis is such a serious thing, not compared with something, say, like heroin. In fact, it can ruin your life just as easily. The problem with cannabis is, curiously, about 1 in 4 of us has got a mental illness that's hidden inside. You know, through the course of your life you may never know. until you mess with this plant, then you'll find out. So it's what, 2, 4, 6, there's probably 4 of us here that have a tendency inside, if we mess with that plant, it can make a big problem for us. It can be something like paranoid schizophrenia. It will ruin your life. And if you start using this plant when you're young, before your brain has finished forming, you never become as clever as you could be. It stops your brain developing, so you don't have a good IQ. So you may have been a genius and you just won't. So it's a very dangerous thing to mess with, especially nowadays. This is ordinary cannabis. This is as nature intended. Then we come along and we mess with it. We breed it, like you do with dogs, you breed them. People breed plants, and in the same way,